All right. Welcome everyone to a brand new episode of Clickbait. I am super excited to bring you guys the episode for today. I've got some really good and fun, incredible guests today, and I hope that you guys enjoy it. Let me just make sure I mute myself. There we go. All right. I have got Carol slamming scamming. I've got Boda, and I've
Hey
got
guys.
Nigella. So everyone, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you
Thank
guys
you.
coming
Thank you.
on, and
Thank you
hope
for
you
having
guys
us.
are good. All right, so I've got some questions to start off. Basically, just to find out how it is that you guys first heard about scam baiting and what made you decide to become a scam baiter. So we'll start with Carol, go to Boda, and then Nigella will be last. So, Carol, how did you guys come across scam baiting, and what made you decide to become a scam baiter?
All right, thanks. Let's see. A little over, I'd say 3 years ago, we got a call one late afternoon from tech support saying that is a problem with your computer. And I'm just like, excuse me? A problem? What's wrong with my computer? Who are you? We're calling from Microsoft. And I said, you're calling from Microsoft? I didn't know they had my number. And they went into their thing and can you go in front of your computer? And I said to myself, well, this sounds really weird, not knowing anything about scam baiting. And I talked to him for a couple of minutes and then suddenly out of nowhere, someone else was on the line and they're like, hey, they're scammers. I'm a scam baiter too. And I'm like, what's a scam baiter? Who are you? And it's like, I have a channel that I run 24/7. And I'm like, what? Yeah, I'm DVR. And I'm like, you're who?
Oh, cool.
Was that like, like what? Because I know nothing, but it was ironic because here, the very first call I ever received, we were on the phone with DVR. So they said, we have a channel. And I'm like, how do you spell that? So then I went to it and I started watching, I was checking out the videos. And I'm like, wow, this is interesting. So then, I typed in, I'm like, scam baiting. So I typed in scam baiting. And then I found Adam, IRS Rec Scammers, and I found his header intriguing and watched his video. And I'm not going to take up very much time. I almost finished. It's ironic because of the very first comment I made on his video. I said, you, my dear man, should be a comedian because you're extremely funny. And lo and behold, some of you probably do know Adam has done stand-up comedy. So, that's how it started.
Nice. So it started with DVR.
Yeah.
So it's like
Awesome.
So it's like I'm calling you to tell you about. Right?
Yeah, DVR is awesome.
Yeah, right on. All right, Boda, how did you get started, or how did you first hear about scam baiting?
Well, actually, it's probably started around 2008, back with what was it 419eater.com.
Okay.
With like the advanced fee scam baits and everything. Man, I started reading that website and I just got hooked. Like I was reading it every day at work. I was working at a call center at the time, so I had all kinds of time in between calls, and I was just hooked on it. For months I was reading them, and then I started doing it myself. I started setting up. It was very simple with the email ones back then. I started setting up email accounts and making. I named it. I had a church. It was called the Church of the Binding. And I'd get these scammers to take pictures of themselves tied up in ridiculous positions and send me pictures in order to be enrolled into this church to be able to accept donations and everything. And it was just so much fun. But I didn't get into this kind of scam baiting until just maybe 6 months ago. I started watching Scammer Revolts. And I seen him how he was doing, like deleting people's files and everything. I was like, I can do that. So I started. I wasn't using any kind of voice changers. I was just calling up and acting dumb, and and I started deleting their files. And I figured I should start recording this. Right? I recorded one on my cell phone, and I uploaded it to my Facebook, and everybody loved it. So I was like, geez, I should do this more, right? So I didn't really like the quality of the recording on the cell phone, so I started getting all of the software and everything to do it, and then started uploading files because I'm not going to keep them myself, but so.
Right on. And Nigella, how about yourself? How did you first hear about scambaiting, and what made you decide to become a scambaiter?
It all started in October 2016 when I heard a news about a man named Hacker Shaggy, they call him. And he's the grandfather of Irs Scams in Ahmedabad, Gujarat. And I was horrified, and being from myself, having ethnic origin from India, it really upset me. From that day onwards, I started following them and started scambaiting after I saw Lewis's text 3 years ago, his videos.
Okay, Lewis's Tech.
Yeah.
Right on, right on. Is there a particular scam that really ticks you off when you hear it, Carol?
Yeah, you know which one particularly makes me angry is the medical alert one, and the reason why is I know that technically it's not a scam, but the thing is that they go through this whole thing telling you we're going to send it to you absolutely free at no charge. You don't have to pay us anything. After they hook you on, get your information, and and then they say the first 30 minutes is the golden hour. Saying that they'll be with you within that time. My mother died from heart disease, and she had a heart attack in her sleep, and no one was able to resuscitate her, and she passed away. So I mean, the thing is that there is no golden hour. If you have a heart attack and they're not there, I'd say within 10 minutes, you're going to pass away. And then they ask for your checking information. They do not have a 1-800 number you can call. They don't send you a contract. They say they'll send it all to you, when you get the unit in the mail, and then I'm always asked, well, how much is it a month? Well, what if I buy it outright? It seems it's mighty expensive. So, that one particularly upsets me just a little bit more than others. I mean, no scam is good. They're all manage people, but
yeah. Scott, is there a particular one that you get you want to throw the phone across the room or something like that? Or?
No, I never get that angry, but I'll briefly say anyone where they impersonate the government, where there's a social security, they don't even have social security numbers themselves, and they're trying to act like they can get all your information, and they talk about your identity's been stolen. I know they steal money mostly, but if you're being scammed and you don't know, and you give your real social, they can steal your identity too. They can open credit cards in your name.
Right.
So that's what I'm saying, and also the grant one, especially this year. I know it's sparse and it's not as common as it used to be, but anytime they're telling you they're going to give you free money, especially this year, it's upsetting that people fall for that. It really, you know what I mean? It's a harsh time. People can't be losing money. So.
Yeah, and that's the thing that they do, right? Is because it's the world, the situation the world is in. It's like, hey, free money. People are like, yeah, I want free money. So it's like such an easy getter for them, right? So yeah, that's crazy. How about you, Boda? Is there any particular scam that really irks you?
Well, I would actually have to kind of agree there. For me, it's the Social Security Administration scams for sure, or any really impersonation scams. I look at scams two different ways. There's the scams, and then there's kind of pseudo scams, right? Those are like the tech support and whatnot. They are a scam, but they kind of hide behind a facade of some kind of legitimacy, right? So I like to target the impersonation scams, and from experience, I know that they are the most greedy and just the most horrible of all the scammers, because they will take every last penny from a person. They don't care how much you have. I've gone at it from having $300 in the bank account to having 300,000, and every time they go for it all. Now, a lot of these scammers have told me, "Oh, we only prey on the rich," but that's not true whatsoever. They will. It doesn't matter what situation you're in. They'll try to take everything from you, and that just gets me, and that's why I target them the most.
Right on. It's very true, man. Very true. Nigella, is there a particular scam that really upsets you?
Yes, for sure. I despise refund scammers. They victimize elderly women, elderly men, and I just hate. They take over your bank account, and I just cannot. I cannot stand that.
Yeah, for sure. Before I continue, I just want to make sure I say this, because I think a lot of us feel this way, and I think a lot of us want to voice this and don't necessarily always do it. But I think on behalf of like a lot of the Scambaiting community, we just want to say thank you to Nigella, because Nigella is such a massive resource to the entire community in translations, providing numbers, doing Scambaiting. Like everything and anything that deals with it. I'm super grateful for you, because a lot of times I know that if you call the number, that I can call the number, if that makes sense, right? So I'm like, Nigella called it, so I know it's a legit number to call. So
I actually pointed that out because you put under this announcement in the stream that Nigella was Aurora 77 on Twitter, and I didn't know that. So you know, I mentioned that when you went to go get water, and did thank Nigella for all of the great numbers and the translation of some Hindi that scammers say and whatnot. So it's awesome.
Yeah. So what going on that? So what are some things you guys think, Carol and Scott? What do you guys think? What can the Scambaiting do? What can the Scambaiting community do to be kind of more efficient, gel more together, so that we're more effective in fighting scammers? What are some things? Do you have any ideas of anything that we could do to just be a better army, I guess?
You want to? Yeah, I have an answer. I would say even if you're not a scambaiter, you should just talk to all your friends and family. Even if they're not actively calling scammer, you do need to tell them what's going on, right? They don't have to go check out the community if they don't want to, but they should know these are scams. And even if you go into like stores and warn like people, hey, do you know that when I go to a local Target, you know, I'll say, hey, do you know that people come in here and buy mass amount of gift cards because there's fake government scams telling them to get them, and that's not legit payment? Just let you know. And I've actually seen at like Target here in the Twin Cities, one I used to go to by my work, they put a sign above the gift cards telling you that the federal government will never ask for gift cards. And that made me really like happy to see that. I just think it's all about communication and warning people about it and spreading the word.
Right,
really.
Just spreading the word, telling people, you know, whether it be whoever you know, however you can, because, you know, just tell them you never know. You will get a call at some point someday. And, you know, if anyone ever calls you telling you they're going to give you money or you owe money, just hang up, because it's not going to happen either way.
Yeah, very, very true. Very true. Very true. Boda, what about you, my friend?
Yes, well, I totally agree. Awareness is definitely the best defense against this blight. Scambaiters get together more and collaborate on projects for public service announcements. You know, things to get awareness out there. Something that maybe can be picked up by other channels or streams and be broadcast on a larger level. I mean, the Scambaiting community is awesome, right? And it's growing, but we do need to get you know, every one of us to get more awareness out there. You know, let your grandmother know, let your grandfather know, or you know, anybody and everybody, right? So that's I try to you know,
do that. Yeah, you know, it's funny, Boda, that you say that. I'm thinking about maybe you and I, since we're both Canadian. Like I've been in touch with the Canadian Anti-Fraud Center, and just trying to see, like, I'm like, they have really great stuff. It's just not visible. And I told the guy that, you know, and I had a good conversation with him for a good half an hour. And I'm like, how can I help you guys become more visible? Like, what can I do? What can I do? And they were just kind of like, we just can't team up with any particular person. But I think if we message them again and over again, just kind of like the squeaky wheel gets the oil kind of thing. There's something that we could do as far as to help like Canadians, right? All the Americans. You guys are gonna have to figure out something as well. But I think it's definitely something that can be done.
Yeah, I'd like to approach like places like the Canadian Legion, like because they service a lot of elderly and older people that are targeted for this, right? And that's should be our target audience.
Yeah. Yes, always. Nigella, what about yourself? What do you think are some things we could do to? You're one of those things. I think like one of those people that gel it all together. So how can we make it better with your gel?
For sure, awareness is number one. Then number two, as far as I'm concerned, exposing the scammer, the city they live in, the city they work, their identity, and expose their photograph if possible, and expose as much as possible about the scammer, whether they come from Gujarat or Punjab or Bengal or Uttar Pradesh or Maharashtra. More exposure. Yeah.
Okay.
I'd really like to get like a database going of like locations and IPs and ISP names and right down to even maybe the agent names because they reuse them a lot, right? So just get a database of information going so that we can track them, right? And we get more information is power. Right?
I have an Excel spreadsheet for many sheets. So for 4 years, I have a record of these fake names, their IPs whenever possible. Lately, I've been using the Wireshark very heavily for last 1 month, and getting their approximate city.
That's your main tool is Wireshark?
Wireshark, and I would say, and also Boda and Android emulator. It acts like an Android phone.
Yeah.
And and then I Wireshark behind the scene.
Oh, okay.
Nice.
Whenever I call the SSA, I have on my notes app in my phone. I just write down the like basic full, like the agent's name, the phone number, the case ID, and the badge ID. Not because like you're supposed to write down, but also just to keep track and see if they ever reuse it or like if any numbers come back. There's been like a number or two that like I'll have like from 2 years ago where randomly I'll be like, wait, that's still. It's randomly came back out of nowhere, like an agent's name. It's so weird. It's interesting.
Yes, I do some amazing things with some old numbers, actually.
Yeah.
Well, one of my my video victim saved. It was actually from an old number that probably from 2 months ago, and it just hit. And
that's one thing I noticed when I posted a video and I had Nigella comment. He would say, "This scammers is this." He told me details about the scammer that I was like, I don't even know how you know that, but I'm grateful that you know that. You know what I mean? Like the behind the scenes stuff that you know. So Nigella, speaking of that, basically as an Indian who scambaits a lot of the Indian scam call centers, what are some things that we can do to figure out what particular part of India the person is from? Like you do, right? Like what are some things that we can do?
People like Rakesh Mistry and me and OJ, those are the best resources because I make notes about their accent. And there are some Nigerian scammers in a city called Jaipur in India. And I think there are about 25 Indians. 20 Indians and 5 Nigerians. 3 ladies and 2 men in Nigerian. I note down their accent. And for example, instead of saying against your name, they will say against your name. So I write down that difference, So next time I can catch them if they use the word against instead of against. I know who that she is and so on. So I think getting hold of resource, Rakesh Mistry or OJ or me or others, we can give you guidance of where they are from Hopefully,
Okay.
You can't get software to do that. You're like, that's
Yeah, exactly.
the talent. That's skill.
Gotcha. All right, guys. So now in the past, we've seen the IRS scam die down and then kind of get reborn under the SSA scam. Is there a scam that you feel is like on the brink of extinction that's probably going to go away anytime soon? Is there anything that you can think of? I can't. I was just wondering if you did.
No.
No?
No.
Boda, is there anything you think?
I think they're all making money. So I mean, until we ramp it up and cut down their bottom line, and I think they're just going to keep going because, I mean, why would they shut it down if they're making money, right?
Yeah.
Right.
It's true.
Unless we make a significant change in what they're pulling in, and when we do that, then they stop paying their employees as much, and then their employees start leaving, and then they can't take as many calls, and then then it's just a snowball effect, and then they're gone. Right? But we really need to, I think, dig in on some of them to be able to affect that kind of change.
Yeah. Nigella, is there one that you find is maybe not as active as it used to be in the past?
No, but what is happening is there are variations to the same SSA scam. For example, you have been seeing since July, U.S. Customs and Border Protection.
Right.
That's the reason they do it. So in Google search, SSA scam will not show up. And they are from Jaipur, one city in Rajasthan, India. They are about 18 to 20 people. They do U.S. Customs and Border Protection. It's basically SSA scam with a twist.
Yeah.
So I think they are morphing into different scams.
Yeah, just change a little bit of the names here and there.
Yeah.
Right.
Or the state the car was found.
Yeah, like there's one particular scam that like I don't hear of very often. Like I've never been able to bait it, and I'm hoping that one day I will be able to. And it's probably the scam that actually ticks me off the most, and that's the grandparent scam.
Yeah.
I don't overly hear so many of those calls happening. But I know that it does happen, and I'm hoping that one day it'll like at least slow down even more than maybe what it is currently. But who knows? We'll see how that goes. So Carol and Scott, you guys are mother and son.
Yes.
So does the rest of your family know that you guys scam bait? And if they do, what are their thoughts on you scam baiting?
They really don't have an opinion.
Yeah,
I told my brother, I said, there may be some language. He says, well, I think I can handle it. I basically told them, what we do, why we do it, and but they really don't talk about it. But they do know. So yeah.
Okay, right on. How about you, Boda? Boda? Oh, I'm not sure if you're still there or not.
I heard something real quick.
Yeah, I heard something too. All right, we'll move on to Nigella. Nigella, does your family know that you scam bait? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, this is Nigella. Yes, everybody knows, except I hide my identity, so I don't tell them I don't want to let the others know, because question of protecting my cousin back home and my nephew and so on. So I don't want to let them know under what identity I do scam baiting work,
Right. Are they they're all in India still?
No, mostly they are here in America.
Okay.
But I have many relatives in New Delhi, Mumbai, Agra, where Taj Mahal is, Rajasthan, Jaipur, which I awfully talk. And exactly.
Okay, right on. So Boda, I don't know if you heard my question. Yeah, I can hear you now.
Yeah, okay. I don't know what happened there. Always plagued with technical issues, I'm going to tell you.
Canada.
My family does know that I do this. I post it on my Facebook like crazy. I probably maybe have 5 people from my friends that actually subscribe to me, so I don't get a lot of support that way. But my family, they do, they love it. My father watches it. I know. I don't know if my mother does, but
that's good. It's good because I'm hoping that as the older folks watch it and they get more used to it, they can kind of start spotting things a lot more, right? And like the cool thing I like about, for example, like Scott and Carol, a mother-son duo is not really, for Scambaiting, is not something you really see very often. You have the hot chicken, right, ladies who they're sisters and they call together, and then you got scamming scammers who him and his wife basically work behind, like she works mostly behind the scenes, I think, and he does a lot of the calls and stuff. So it's just not really something that you see much of, like which I think is kind of cool. So Nigella, is there can you tell us a little bit more about like your background, maybe a little bit more about your childhood and kind of what brought you to where you are?
Yeah, I was born in a village, remote village. There was no electricity. Then we were refugees and we moved to Delhi. So I grew up in Delhi and I got my engineering education in Bengal, West Bengal, India. Not Bangladesh, but India, West Bengal. And I came to America as an engineer and let's say that I ventured into different things like became a hippie and whatnot, and then back to engineering. So I retired a few years ago. So I know Punjabi, Hindi, Urdu, and I understand, but I don't speak Gujarati and Bengali. So that's, I guess, about me.
I see my son is spamming a chat with my account.
Oh, I see.
That's my 6-year-old son. He keeps coming down and giving me high fives.
Nice.
Yeah,
that's awesome. That's cool. He's putting all the emotes in there.
Yes,
yeah. That's awesome, man. So Boda, can you tell us a little bit more about maybe where your name came from with
Boda?
your Scambaiting name?
Yeah. Well, Boda is actually the name of the imaginary friend of Kurt Cobain. And Kurt Cobain was actually, he was like an idol to me. I played guitar and I was in a band that was like a Nirvana cover band, and I played guitar, sang, and like he was a big inspiration for me when I was between the ages of 13 and 18 probably, so that I picked that name up, and I've used it since in the early 90s anyway. I had a Hotmail account that was Boda _ at Hotmail, and it was actually before MSN bought out Hotmail, so it was like an OG Hotmail account, like the first 10,000 Hotmail accounts. So I've had it for quite a while. I only started using it again when I started Scambaiting though. So I used to like do IRC and everything under Boda. So
okay, right on. And can you tell us? I'll ask Nigella and Boda both this question because Carol and I we don't use voice changers, right, Carol? Like you and I just kind of do different accents when we talk to them, but
That's right.
but and so does Boda, and so does Nigella. But I just want to know like what tell us a little bit. Boda, I'll start with you first, and then Nigella, if you could, just tell us a little bit about your voice changer and kind of like going into character, the little nuances that people need to know about Scambaiting.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I started out with using voice mod when I first started making videos, but if you look back at them, I find them a little bit cringy now. But because the voice, I really didn't like it. It took me a while to settle on a piece of software. What I use now is a Clownfish, mainly because it uses what's called VSTs, and they're basically like a plugin, like an audio plugin, and you can get any kind of like third-party software like equalizers or any kind of audio manipulation kind of software, and you can add it in on top of the voice changer. So it kind of opens it up a lot more. It allows you can pick your voice and then kind of sculpt it, right? So I use like equalizers to be able to kind of sculpt it. Now, scammers have asked me many times, how I do it, and because if I ever reveal to them, they're like, that's just amazing. Like, how do you do it? And I'm like, well, it's software, but they're like, okay, well, what software is it? You can't just load software and expect it to change your accents. You need to do some voice acting. You need to get into a character. You need to. There's a lot more to it than just some software, and they don't really get that. But
No.
that's not for me to teach them. So
Right.
I see.
Yeah, and Elma is your main character, correct?
yes, yeah.
Okay, so what's her background? Like, why does she talk the way she talks, and how do you make it? Because the scammer is like, just, I feel like they melt like butter in your hands, man. Like I told you this before, like when I listen to your voices, there's a lot of people that use voice changers, but when I listen to your voice, I find it's like really smooth. You can't really tell it's a voice changer, if that makes sense.
Yes, yeah,
right?
yeah, and that's partially because of the extra software on top of it, right? Another thing that I think that has helped me kind of evolve Elma's voice was when I was first doing it, I would put on hear microphone so I could hear my voice. It would sort of speech jam me. If you've ever done that, speech jamming, it really messes you up, kind of talking, right? When you hear an echo of your own voice, at a certain offset, it makes it almost impossible to talk. But I did that. It wasn't too much of a delay, so I was able to get through it. But it kind of made me aware of, I don't know how, like, just inflections of my words and ways that I could manipulate it with the voice changer. I don't know if it really makes sense to you unless you used it and kind of know what I'm talking about. But yeah, I mean, it took a little bit to develop, but
Yeah, it takes some time.
It's constantly evolving. So, and I'm trying to do it with other characters as well. Like Michael Hunt, he's still evolving, but
Yes. I love Michael.
yeah.
So how about yourself?
Michael has actually gotten my most thumbs down. So.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah.
My most comes up in my case.
Yeah. I don't know what it is. It might be just a couple of people that really like Elma, and they're like, "Nah, I don't like Michael." So I don't know.
Right on. How about you, Nigella? What do you use, or is there anything in particular you want to talk about?
Morph Vox Pro.
Okay.
And I have about 25 to 30 female characters, and their ethnic origins are Portuguese, Indians, Iranians, Turkish, Kabul people from Afghanistan, lady from Afghanistan, once a while a Punjabi lady from India. But mostly those characters these are ladies who are they are not Western, they are not Indian. There's some familiarity to the Indians, and perhaps they are neighbors, neighbors from Iran or Afghanistan, or they have Indian origin. There's a colony called Goa. Well, it is not colony anymore. It was a Portuguese colony in west coast of India called Goa.
Yeah.
So Goan Christians left for Portugal in 1961, 1962. So they still have the same, similar accent, and they're named like Maria, Joe, De Silva, and so on. Fernandez with S like Sam Fernandez. So I use those names, So it's not too unfamiliar to them, and it's not too familiar to the Indian family.
Right on. So I just got a quick question here from Dr. Fell to Nigella. He says, ask Nigella how to properly say Punjabi Munda.
He's always saying that.
Punjabi Munda, which means
Okay.
Punjabi lad or chap. Munda
Okay.
means a small boy. It can be used in a very nice way. If a grandfather can call the boy Munda. Or
Okay.
it can also be a boy who's a hawker. It gives you, hey Munda, bring me some chai or tea. So it
Gotcha.
can be used kind of negatively also, but
Okay.
also with affection also.
Yeah. So Dr. Fell is going to be changing his name on YouTube to Punjabi Munda unless
Love
we get
it.
unless
Yeah.
Skeleton Siski gets to 4,000 subscribers before the end of the year. That was Dr. Fell's thing that he said. So, anyways, Ishmael wants to know if I can ask. It says, can you ask Nigella about mosh pit we come across? Do you know what he's referring to there?
Yes. I, Ismail and I, we both met at Mosh Pit. Yeah,
Oh,
it's-
okay.
Yeah.
What's mosh
It's,
pit? Is it a place or?
It's a new variation to the cause in Bob RTC when people call and they
Okay.
call Bob RTC their own numbers, private numbers. They go into a mosh pit, and so if you have nothing else to do, turn on mosh. It's like a radio. You turn it
Oh.
on and you hear calls from scammers who think those are real numbers.
Oh,
Oh,
interesting.
really?
And I hit
Wow.
Ismail one of these calls. I love it.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Lady Bass Guitar Player has a question for everyone here. It says, I'm always curious, do you guys have other jobs? So if you guys want to, without giving too much details of like, I work at, this location in this particular city and you can come find me here. My shift is 9 to 5, like without any of that.
Well, I'm a writer.
You're a writer?
So I write, without saying much, but that's my profession, and I'm fortunate enough to do it from home. So.
Okay, right on. Scott?
I worked retail, but professionally I'm a graphic designer, so I just design different graphics and stuff. I've also done some web design work and video editing and photography too. So just
Okay.
a lot of creative stuff, and I write too also.
Right on. Anyone? Boda?
I'm a stay-at-home father of 2 amazing boys, and I don't work because I hurt my back back in 2005, so I can't work. So I do this basically full time, and get to raise my boys. So.
Nice. You and I are kind of in the same boat. Like I work from home.
Yeah.
So I get to spend like tons of time with my kids,
Yeah.
which is partially why I can't really do calls during the day because these kids are screaming. At least I do make calls, but it's like not to post, right? Because nobody wants to hear like screaming kids in the back. So all my kids are under 6, so 3 kids under 6, it's kind of like a little bit of a handful. So Nigella, how about yourself?
I retired 3 years ago, and I work for several companies. You will know the names. I will just 8 or 10 names, and I work for a couple of them. IBM, EMC, Dell, HP. You got the idea. Not all of these, but yeah.
Amazon, Microsoft.
Exactly. I did travel to India, Bangalore, and Hyderabad on some technical work. I did about 5 times. I've gone to India. I've gone into India a dozen times, but for business office reasons, work reasons, I went to South India about 3 times, 4 times.
Never know.
Right on. Nigella, have you ever, when you go to India, have you ever gone by where these like, like what Carl Rock does, where he goes by like these scam call centers? Have you ever gone by there?
Carl? Yeah, I have some of these. I have gone to Dehradun, but I have not gone to the islands like the ones he has gone to, Andaman Islands and Nicobar Islands. Those are just not too far from Sri Lanka and Indonesia and not those places. I've been to, Naga areas, Nagaland. There are 7 sister states called Northeast Indian sister states. Nagaland, Manipur, Tripura, and so on. And I had gone to Darjeeling, which is in West Kolkata, West Bengal.
Okay.
So it's Darjeeling tea comes from there. Yeah. So
Is
I traveled.
is there a part of India you find like where most of these scam calls are happening from in particular?
Yeah, of course. I know most of the refund scams are in Siliguri and Calcutta in West Bengal. Social security scams are happening in Delhi. A lot of them are Gujarat, and a lot of them are in a city called Pune, which is in Mumbai. Pune is spelled Pune, but pronounced Pune,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
it's west of Mumbai, south of Mumbai. I'm sorry. So Mumbai. So the Roku scams, very strange. They occur in Hyderabad, South India, and Punjab, but isolated. I never understood why Roku scams are currently in two isolated, unrelated regions: Punjab in India and Hyderabad in South India. And the tech scams happen, lot in Delhi, and in Pune. So Cash App scams, so far 80% of my IPs I have captured, they are Delhi, Greater Delhi, meaning Delhi and the neighborhood, Cash App. And PayPal scams are Delhi. So I don't understand why some scams are so concentrated in Calcutta and some are in Delhi and some are in Hyderabad.
Interesting. Oh, give me a sec. Nigella, there's a question for you here in the chat from Malta. He said, when calls are answered this side, whatever the name is this a casual or professional way of speaking?
I would say it's not casual. It's more like interrogative, meaning this is a way of introducing so and so. So semi-professional, I would say.
Okay, so like a semi-professional type of
Response, yeah.
response. Okay, it's funny because when you mentioned Sri Lanka, I grew up around a lot of Sri Lankans, right? In Toronto, we have like a really big Sri Lankan community. So there's been times where I've wanted to bait an Indian scammer and use a Sri Lankan last name, because you know how long the Sri Lankan last names are, right?
Yeah.
So I want to use that so bad and just see what they say. I haven't done it yet, but I want to.
Yeah, they speak Sinhalese and so Tamil. Their names, South Indian names are also long, like Sri Lankan names, very long names. It's so Sri Lankan and South Indian. Sri Lanka, we used to call Ceylon, Ceylon. By the way, you talk about Toronto. Have you ever been to South Girard Street? It's called Little India.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have little everything here in Toronto, like little Jamaica, little Italy, well, we have it all. Unfortunately, there's no Latino area. Like, we are kind of like more dispersed. I think it's because we're so competitive in soccer that we can't come together and agree on any place to actually put a neighborhood. And that's just what I think. But
I went to Girard State twice, last 10 years or so. But I was baited to go to Girard State to a Bitcoin machine by a Irs scammer a year ago. So I remember that.
Yeah, and it's interesting you say that, because that's one of the things. You know how I asked you earlier if there's the Irs scam died? In Canada, the CRA scam has died. Like, there are no more calls like saying they're from the Canada Revenue Agency. It's now the Service Canada scam. So it's like the SSA scam. They've kind of morphed. And even then, it doesn't really happen all that often.
I get them all the time when I'm doing a bait. I'll be on a bait with with somebody, and I'll get a call on my cell phone, and I'll be like, which one do I take? But anytime I take a call from them, as soon as I say hello, they're like, "What's your name?" I'm like, Michael Hunt, and They just hang up on me. I'm
They're so used to that name.
Yeah.
yeah.
That's so funny. I
Yeah.
see. I
The
get
same
more.
scam happened on Thanksgiving Day, when American calls, there were no calls to America. There was one scammer gang in India who was scamming the Canadians on Thanksgiving Day.
Yeah.
And I baited that for 2 hours.
Yeah, it's interesting because the most of the time that I do get they haven't done this with the Social Security Administration scam, which is kind of interesting. But here it's like they call and they're actually spoofing someone's real number. And when they call, it's like the automated press 1 to speak to a representative. And if you press 1, then you speak to them. If you don't press 1 and you call the number back afterwards, it's to the actual person that they spoofed the number, right? So it's almost like you have to press 1 in order to talk to them. That's one thing that I've noticed. Let me see here. Ben has a question for everyone. So Carol, let's start with you and Scott. A question for everyone. What is the worst scammer you have had on the phone?
The worst scammer as far as the way
maybe it's someone that said something and just kind of rubbed you the wrong way, or maybe it's someone that was just he couldn't understand, or I don't know. What's the worst scammer you've ever had?
Well, I guess what irks me if the call center is so loud. If it's so loud, I won't do it. I'm sorry, I can't, because I've always been irritated by loud, obnoxious sounds anyway, and try to avoid them at any cost. And I know scam baiting is important, but when I can't even hear them, and I'll ask them to fix their line, and they'll say, "Ma'am, can you hear me now?" And if you call me back and it's the same, no, I can't do that. But otherwise, I always tell them when they start talking about, I want to F you and them and all that, and you're just old and ugly, and I always tell them, there ain't nothing you can say that's going to intimidate me or make me feel less of myself because you're trying to play some psychological twist game to make yourself feel better.
Right.
But, when they say you have to, no, I don't, there's a lot of things they say. But as far as the worst thing anyone has ever said, I don't know. What about you? Have you ever?
So I'll answer this in 2 different ways. I won't take too long. Number one, in terms of like them saying stuff to go after what you're saying, like one time I remember a scammer said to me like something extremely racist, and I'm not even gonna repeat it because it just bugs me. I mean, I know there's angry people in the world, but it just bugs me when you're already low enough that you're a scammer, and then the call gets to a certain point, and then you want to be racist too. I like can't.
You go even lower.
You're just like complete crap of a person. And then number 2, like I remember one time, I think it was a refund call. I was on the phone, and the guy could not scam at all. Like he was terrible at his job. He was like, he must have just started, or he was drunk or high. He was like, "Hi," and I'm like, "Hi." He's like, "I'm calling," and he kept taking like 20-30 seconds between like a couple words, and I wanted to see how long it was going to go on. And I don't think it was during a stream. I was just waiting, and eventually he was nothing. I'm like, "Hello, are you there?" He's like, "Oh yeah. I'm calling about your computer," and he couldn't like get this. I'm like, and he's like, and I even prompted him. I said, "Are you calling about refund or an update?" He couldn't do anything. He was just like, yeah, it was just crazy.
Wow. I wonder with you, Scott, if you ever hear scammers saying like bad things to your mom, if it ever like gets you ticked off, like, how dare you talk to my mom like that, dude? Like I would be like all over like, what? Are you kidding me right now, dude? What the hell's wrong with you? I don't know. It's just me.
They don't know her, so it doesn't really bother me. The same thing if they're saying something to her about me, like they don't really know me. They can say whatever they want. It's different versus like real people I know, but anyone of those people don't know you. They're in a completely different place, so it doesn't bother me. Like whatever.
There's a lot of times he'll be on the phone. They'll say to him, "I want to F your mom," and he'll say, "Well, she's right here."
Yeah.
And he passed me the phone, and I'll just go offer, do my thing. So.
Right on. Boda, how about you? Worst scammer you've ever had?
Oh goodness. Well, I mean, I've had so many of them. I mean, if you want to look at just sheer vileness, I mean, it's got to be a tie between probably about 100 of them, just because of the depravity of them and how low that they will actually go. But what really gets me going, and of course gets Elma going, is ones that really they don't know English outside of the script. So if you take it for 1 second outside of that script, they are that they have no clue. And you can give them all kinds of information, then they'll turn around and then ask you a question for the same information you literally just gave them. And I it drives me so insane. I just can't take it, and I just go off on those guys.
Yeah.
Right on. How
Whenever,
about you, Nigel? Go ahead.
I just want to say real quick, whenever they go racist and start using the N-word, I just say, yeah, it's a vigorous time right now, but we're all trying to, I just change the word up and something else.
Or I know I got you triggered. I'll say,
yeah, or something. They get.
I've never had that. I've never had them use that word.
I have. Yeah. It's pretty brutal. You're just kind of like, what the freak?
Right.
How about yourself, Nigella?
I would say the ones which have obscenity and the rage in them. One scammer, our Punjabi guy, for 15 to 18 minutes, he kept on using obscene words and with anger. I mean, rage. I captured that. Anyhow, so those are the ones I despise. Yeah, really get.
Yeah.
Gotcha. I think the ones for me are just though I think the worst ones are always the funniest ones for me. So like, tell me the number, give me the number, sir, give me the number. And I'm like just going, like 5 quadrillion, blah blah blah, and it's like the number one by one. Like anytime they do that, I think that's funny, just because
I love those
that's
guys.
horrible. It's horrible that they can't just process it.
Right.
Like just listen to what I'm saying to you. But anyways, Adrian has a question for everyone. Carol, we'll start with you and Scott again. Has anyone had a call on Christmas Day or a holiday, and what was it for?
Well, I don't know if I have, maybe. And if I had, I wouldn't partake in it because it's just that holidays are holidays. Christmas, New Year's Day, that might. But Christmas or Thanksgiving, I wouldn't. So no. Not me.
I remember this year, we weren't actively scamming, but it was on the 4th of July. I got a call from the Social Security, like one of the automated ones, like you're talking about, or the press one. I thought it was so funny. I'm like, really? You're going to call on July 4th where everything's closed and try to pretend that you're calling this on America's? Okay.
Yeah, that's funny. Boda, yourself?
Well, I haven't really been scambaiting long enough to have scambaited on a holiday, a big one anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So I've only really started since this summer. So I did try to make a couple of calls on Remembrance Day just because I wanted to really, really dig into anybody that would have answered. Luckily, I didn't get anybody answering, but yeah.
That's President's Day in the U.S., right? November 11th? Or Veterans Day? Veterans Day.
Veterans Day, yeah.
Yeah, in November, Veterans Day, that's right. How about you, Nigella?
I would say this Thanksgiving I took a SIM call from Canada, and there's a festival called Diwali, or Festival of Lights in India.
Mm-hmm.
I took a call that day. And that day, we all Indians families get together and have a celebration and prayer. But I did handle a call that day. So, yeah.
Yeah, I have not received calls on holidays, but that's a day that I actually take to actually make calls. So like I make calls like on Canada Day. Whenever there's a holiday here, I'll do that as well. Like Remembrance Day, I'll actually try to do a stream or something along those lines and make calls, because I know that I can, right? Like those days are, people have those days off anyway, so I just kind of do that. I don't see any other questions here. I don't have anything else necessarily for you guys, but unless you guys have anything you guys want to add, anyone? No. Yeah.
Can we talk about?
Yeah,
Oh, now all of you at the same time. Okay. Go ahead, Carol. Go ahead.
Talk about, because I know it's a question you do usually ask, is what our favorite scam is. What our favorite scam is.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite?
Now that I've introduced it, excuse me, I'll go first, I guess. And for me, lately, it used to be the IRS, but that's all done. So now it's the refund. And the reason why is, first of all, you can call them over and over and over and over again. They hardly ever block or the number goes down. And it's very entertaining. And you don't know what they're going to say. It's absolutely hysterical and comical. That's one reason that I do this. Not only because it's to help people, but also because, I'm a reader, a writer, and a creator. And it's a good form of entertainment per se, because you just never know what they're going to say. It could be so ridiculous and hysterical. It's insane. And, you can just, the refund people, you can just go on, and it's a good time. It's just...
I actually have the same answer. Definitely the refund. Not only because of those reasons, but I think they say some of the most ridiculous things. Like lately, they've been changing your script where they'll say, "Oh, we're calling from your computer company. Do you have a computer?" Like, really? How are you going to say you're calling from my company and then ask me if I have a computer? And it frustrates me that they think they can just edit people's HTML and they won't notice it. As someone who's a web designer and I messed off HTML and stuff, I'm like, how obvious? It's so obvious. Even if you don't know about web design, like, you can tell they're typing in things to manipulate your browser. And the fact that they put up a list of programs and say, look at all these ones that are stopped running. Well, yeah, if they're running all at the same time, your CPU would be way up in overdrive, your computer would crash. Like,
Boda, you have a favorite?
Well, I mean, I basically specialize in the SSA, right? Because they just take so much. I mean, they're all so money hungry that they will take any kind of abuse. I mean, you can kind of gauge each person individually, but generally they will take much more than say a refund scammer or any other kind of scammers. So I have the most fun with them. And they're the ones that I post the most because it comes out the funniest, really, in my opinion. I like doing like the refund scams and everything, but I don't post a lot of them. I just do that more for myself and for just for the fun of it, right? So
right. How about yourself, Nigella? Do you have a favorite scam to bait?
Oh, SSA, Roku, Cash App, PayPal. I do like the refund to all of them. Oh, Boda, by the way, I make good use of Grabify lately. You should know
yes,
that.
yeah, awesome, yeah, it's a good tool.
Yeah, I would say same thing as Boda. Like, I particularly like the SSA scam. To bait the SSA scam, I don't like the scam itself, but I like to bait it. I just find it's really easy to go on a drive and literally have them on the line, for as long as
call
need be.
easy.
Yeah, easy. It's like super easy to do that. The refund scammers, same thing. Just like putting in the wrong word when they're asking me to go onto a certain site and reading the team viewer page or AnyDesk or all that kind of stuff. Like, that's always fun to do. Someone also asked, what is your longest scam bait? And I'll say, what was it for as well? I'll start with mine. I don't know if longest call was probably close to 4 hours. But longest bait, I'm still baiting a grant scammer from May or April, I think. I don't remember it. So it's been like that long. He still messages me once in a while going like, hey, how are you? Like, he's still trying to get money from me, which I think is hilarious. But yeah, so that's probably my longest. How about you, Carol?
Oh, my longest call was SSA. It was probably close to 2.5 hours, but also there was one that was happening, which was also SSA call that went over a span over 4 days. We told them the bank wasn't open right now, and then you can only go to the drive-through. You have to have an appointment because of the corona. And, over the 4 days, it was probably over 3 hours. And then he was supposed to call back and never did. So that ended. But
we tried to call and the number wasn't available anymore.
Right.
How about you, Boda?
Mine was probably 4 days, I think, 4 or 5 days. There was 3 different attempts to get the money, which I thwarted and went through the whole process, but then resetted the scam back to one. There was about 4 different scammers involved, and it was. I have about 3.5 hours of video that I haven't released it just because it's obscenely long. And I believe actually those were the same guys that Joe Scambait, he did a Scambait, and he got the same guys. But yeah, it was a fun one. They hated me at the end. Oh god,
Of course, that's the best.
yeah. Yeah.
I hate that guy. How about yourself, Nigella?
It lasted 10 days. I acted like a victim female, acted like a sister, and the victim is not at home. I'm her sister. Then I acted like her dad. So it took 10 days. That's really a lot of acting.
That's phenomenal. That's awesome. All right. Thank you so much for joining me today, guys. For those of you guys, Luke said it best here. Please subscribe to all those on the call or the video. If go check out Nigella on Twitter. But I have the links to their channels in the description down below. And so make sure you go check them out. They're phenomenal baiters. There's always, it's never enough to have more baiters, if that makes sense, right? You always just catch as many as you can. There's always someone that's going to be on. And I hope that you guys enjoy seeing these guys in action. Please go check out Carol Slamming Scamming, Boda Scambaits, and like I said, I have their info down in the description, so make sure you guys go check it out. Other than that, thank you all for being in the chat and enjoying.
Yes. Thank you, Dale.
For having us.
Thank you, Carol.
Awesome.
Thank you, Boda. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you, Nigella, Carol.
Dale with the hostess with the mostest.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hostess with the mostest. Thank you all for joining me, and we will catch you guys again some other time. Take care, everyone.
All
And
Boda out.
peace out.
Bye.
Thanks everyone in the chat. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Take care, guys.